my friends, we know exactly how to overcome, to triumph, to prevail through these challenging times. And we're going to share it with you today in very clear detail. And then we're going to open up other pathways and to point you in other directions where you can find out more. And to give you an example, I'll show you around briefly here. So my family and I, we live 100% off grid. In fact, I'm so excited because this whole area is a healing center. And that's why collaborating with the Bravehearts and Dr. Wolfe to bring those modalities and that wisdom to this natural intelligence. When we combine all of the things we know, when we follow Dr. Martin Luther King's advice, he said, those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war, right? When we do that effectively, we create this type of landscape everywhere. And what does that do, right? When we take out the poisons and grow food instead of lawns, we reverse deforestation and mass extinction and cancer and diabetes and heart disease. We end hunger, we end scarcity, and we end tyranny simply by doing what is best for us, right? Like that fig tree right there. What do humans run on? We run on calories. What does that fig tree produce? It produces free energy for generations to come. And now I'd like to throw it over to Cory. Cory Endrulat is our partner. He's a 3-time published author at the age of 24 years old. And he is representing a generation that is looking for this. And so, Cory, what do you think?
Thank you, Jim, so much. I appreciate being here for Braveheart Nation, sharing these solutions that are rather unknown by the mass public at the moment, despite being right in front of our faces, perhaps, right? The lawn that is in front of most houses takes up more acres than all our crops combined, and yet has the most amount of chemicals and runoff into our water supply, and yet produces no food for us. It's something that could be turned into an asset, something that could be used as a valuable asset for our families, for our health, for generations to come, for thousands of years if we plant perennial plants using edible food forests, using permaculture. And if we do it right, we utilize our own natural intelligence, we can create a system of natural intelligence that you will be really healed from in every different way, from mental to social to physical. And that is not just free energy, it's free medicine, right? It's health. It's abundance of health because you're looking at the whole system. When you look at these, there's tons of studies online about having a simple plant on your desk, helping with your mood and helping with depression and anxiety and being more focused. Well, imagine being surrounded by plants, right? And we can create that in any environment, in urban environments as well. And there's so many different types of farming out there. Some people think it's super difficult to do certain things, but we have all the knowledge at our fingertips. We simply have to use it wisely. And so we brought it together. You know, I was very fortunate to meet Jim. I was very fortunate to run into his ideas and how he's living off grid in Florida and get to visit his location and see it for myself and be like, wow. And then see all these people coming through the food forest and they're all super inspired. He says he has a 100% inspiration rate. I went there, I got inspired, and from there it was like it stayed in my heart, and I couldn't help but say, man, I got to plant something. I got to do something. He's right. Like, what am I going to do if the food supply system goes out? What am I going to do if I don't have medicine, like natural medicine, like we talk about turmeric and ginger and all these great medicinals? We can grow them, you know, in most places of the world. And we can also grow it in places where people think, oh, it's impossible. I mean, we can look up the Greening the Desert project in Jordan. It's possible anywhere where we can utilize permaculture. That's why it's such a beautiful, intelligent system. So we all have that intelligence within us, and throughout the world, we simply have to tap into it. And I inspire and encourage you guys to do the same thing. I appreciate being here on the show.
And we appreciate you being here, Cory. And but let's lay it out. Let's lay out and go deeper about what natural intelligence is and why natural intelligence. Nobody needs to work on peace. Peace is the end result.
Yeah, that is such a thoughtful way to put it. So we wrote a book, Cory and I, called Natural Intelligence, the Technology of Peace. And it just received a Amazon's top new release, both as a paperback and via Audible. And in this book, it details the functional results of taking the poisons out and using these types of systems as our regular landscapes. Now, how do we change the world? Well, it's really starts with awareness, right? We know for certain that this kind of landscape solves all of the world's biggest problems. But why don't we have it everywhere? Right? Why is it that HOAs make growing fruit trees illegal? Why is it that entities like BlackRock and the governments around the world, well, here especially in the United States, subsidize the use of poisons? Why is it that things like glyphosate are much, much cheaper than products that are organic and natural, like cow manure, like horse manure, like chicken manure, like fish manure, right? Why is it? It's all because it's not by accident. It's all because this is a strategy intended to control the asset, to control the mind, and therefore the actions of the slave. Now, that's the problem. In permaculture, we turn the problem into the solution. If the problem is a poisonous, destructive, and unsustainable food supply chain, and all unsustainable systems fail, then the solution is the opposite of that, which everybody can do. In fact, real quick, just yesterday, my partner, he's over there, he's putting food in the ground. Hey, Chris, he planted 350 different seedlings right here of probably almost 20 different varieties, right? That took, how long did that take? Like 5-6 hours? It took 5-6 hours. Now, with about 10 minutes of energy per day over the next few weeks, this will turn into $1,000, even $3,000 or $4,000 worth of value, right? Where else can you get that kind of return on intention?
Yeah. And guess what? When I go walking even here down in Ixtapas-Zihuatanejo, and I think there's so many beautiful trees throughout the world, but I think more down here, I can go for a walk down here and I can find a mango or coconut. Now, everybody, you need to think about this. How long does it take for you to walk to find somewhere in a public place where there's actually a fruit tree or some type of food producing tree growing naturally? What if we just did 50% ornamental and we did 50% logical? I don't know. What do you guys think?
How do we create peace on earth, right? You asked that question. Well, prevent the scarcity, prevent the tools that create war. And so when we equipped ourselves in our local neighborhoods, at our houses, at our churches, at our schools, at our prisons, all these prestigious institutions that have often lawns, ornamental lawns right in front of the property, and we instead use that as a valuable asset and transform it into something that brings the community together, actually makes the children want to learn in school, makes the prisoners no longer prisoners, and helps all these institutions at the same time, saves them money, helps with what exactly they're trying to do, brings more attention to their complex, makes the school look less like a prison, makes the prison look much more like a healing center. And I think it's a whole different way of imagining our reality, right? It's creating the Garden of Eden on Earth. Many people have heard of this idea. But I mean, when I look at Jim Gale's property, that's what I think of, right? And I started talking about that before he said with me, he's like, yeah, this is the Garden of Eden. It came to my head first, because that's what I saw. And I saw the animals grazing the land too. And you can stack functions and you can add more and more of that life that you want to see. Yeah, some people might like coconuts. Other people might like some other plants. There's thousands of plants out there. And I discovered so many more plants by delving into this. I talked to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I want to get into gardening or farming or something like that. but I feel like it's just too much work, or I just don't know what to do. And so, we created our book to inspire people, to show them it is possible. And there's certain elements that if you focus on, it's not that hard actually at the end of the day. Like, for instance, soil. Soil is perhaps one of the most important aspects to growing anything. The soil health, the bacteria in the soil determines the food and the outcome that you're going to receive. So Jim has all its fancy technology that he worked with Dr. Will Spencer and Pat Miletich on, and Pat Miletich is a contributor to our book alongside Joel Salatin and Marjorie Wildcraft. These guys are bestsellers. They have amazing technologies, amazing things that they're doing, proving that we can get rid of heavy metals, turn it into fatty acids, proving that we can get forever chemicals out of our soil and out of the food supply. I mean, stuff that people would never even imagine. There's chemists who are like, what? That's possible? And they're doing it. And so it's just about seeing those solutions, putting them in action. And once you do, it's just so inspiring. It must be, because again, like Jim said, this is the solution to like all the world's biggest problems. People are talking about global warming. They're talking about infertility, deforestation. It's like we can literally create that solution right in front of us, every house.
Cory, can I say this? How about we just get to the root cause and we stop talking about messages from our bodies, messages from the planet of why can't you love me? Okay, and that's what they are. They're not symptoms, okay? They're not diseases. They're not conditions. There's no diseases, and there's no autoimmune diseases. So understand something. They make all this up. So if I give you 1,000 different words and 1,000 different places in the body where there's infection, creating inflammation, scar tissue formation, calcification, okay, you're always going to be going to that spot. And then you want to go see the specialist for your nose or your ear or your eye, when all you had to do was just have some natural intelligence. Now, where do I get the book? How much does it cost? And what am I going to learn? And tell me.
All right.
Oh, looks like Jim froze there. I can answer the question.
There you go. Hand
All
off.
right. Yeah, there we go. There's two of us. There's Amazon, which a lot of people are familiar with as a popular retailer. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, what happened? Did I cut out?
Yes, you did.
Oh,
all right.
Shoot.
I mentioned Amazon, but yeah, people can get it at their local bookstores as well. They can go to their local library, and they could actually order it through their local library if they would like. So I would encourage, everybody to do that. Or if you prefer Amazon, they're going to get involved one way or another. They have mass printers in the world, but, it's to share a message with the world that will transform and decentralize all these different systems when implemented and strategically. No matter who you are, we have solutions for the specific audience you are. So if you are a church, if you are a prison, if you are, yes.
If I'm 8 years old, will I be able to understand it?
I actually think so, yes. What do you
think?
think?
Well, that's important. Yes. If an 8-year-old can understand it, then there's hope for the rest of us. Okay, got it.
Let me jump in on this one. An 8-year-old or a 5-year-old will understand it more than 99% of the adults who've been programmed out there. My little girl, she's 5. She gets it completely. She's planting seeds. She loves nature. In fact, by the way, I'm really excited to share this. We are starting a school here, and everybody's invited. We don't have any patents or non-competes or NDAs. We are here to inspire a shift.
Take it away, Cory.
Our resources wisely. And
wiser.
Yeah. So the school, there'll be 25 kids, 3 teachers. The teachers will be paid very well, and the students will manage the nursery.
1 second, Jim. 1 second, Jim. You cut out. I just want people to know that Jim is creating a school with 25 students, okay, at Galt's Landing, okay, at the Food Forest Abundance. Understand something, guys. So take a look at Jim, take a look at Cory, listen maybe to some of what I have to say, and ask yourself, would you like your child going to a school that is food forest abundant and wanting them to become a Braveheart of their own world? Jim?
Yes, yes, yes. And imagine this, within a year, the school is producing such an abundance of food that their families receive all of their food needs from the school. Within 2 years, there's such a surplus that the school is now selling and helping the community become food self-reliant. Not just selling food, but actually going into the backyards in the neighborhoods and planting food that can be enjoyed for generations to come.
Boom.
It's the next wave in schooling where everybody wins.
Cory?
Absolutely. The schools and the churches, the prisons, any one of these can be the example, or it can simply be your house, right? So you can inspire people, I'd say from any position you're in with this knowledge, because again, this knowledge is simply not being shared with people. And coming from that position of love, like you said, Dr. Wolfe, is very, very important for sure. That's what our whole message is, conceived in. If it wasn't for love for our natural world and the world around us and for our families and the generations to come, would we have created this work? I mean, we really love the world around us. We want to see the beauty flourish. We don't want to see evil take over this world. We don't want to see this idea of disease and trauma and fear take over the world. No, we don't need to live in that illusion. Right? We want to live in the truth and be surrounded by it, not just speak about it, but actually live it. And so if we put it into action, it's permaculture and voluntarism, the two ideas we share in this book that I believe are very crucial, very important. And voluntarism is as simple as recognizing the golden rule. The voluntary world that we can create, a world not based on violence, based on law, endless symptom management, endless drugs, endless laws. No, but actually respecting the individual, their rights, their freedom, and saying, hey, live your own life. Just don't impose it on others. Don't say that you got the right answer and that you need to use violence and pass it through law. And no, right? Let's respect each other and let's show the example. Let's educate each other. And that is the future. If we can utilize these two solutions, we got the moral, mental, spiritual 5D integrated with that physical material 3D. And so when you have that unison, you have that masculine and the feminine coming together, we have a balance that is harmonized.
Thanks, Cory. And if I can say this, everyone, before we needed to build prisons, we create an invisible prison was created in our subconscious mind. And understand something, and nobody hardly thinks about the people in the prisons. Well, these are human beings and these are spirit beings. And understand something right now, they utilize prisons to just try to show that the world is toxic. People cannot be trusted. You need to lock yourself down and understand these poor prisoners are treated less than garbage. And so understand the prison is the government school. Anybody that goes to an approved government school is already being imprisoned, okay? And guess what? Nobody's going to wake up to it because the majority of the population go. And people are going to go, BS, Dr. Wolfe. If it wasn't for the government and the way they teach, we wouldn't need prisons. I'd really like to see in 25 years from now, how many people that Jim does, that teaches from their school at Food Forest Abundance actually ends up in what we would say a criminal. Criminals aren't even criminals. They're taught to be criminals because they're taught that there's lack in the world and you're too damn stupid to ever get what you want, so you're going to have to steal it. And understand something, everybody, and I'm going to tell you something right now. My heart is out to these people that are in these prisons and everybody that goes to a government school. You're in a prison. When I was 13, 14, 15 years old, after I go to soccer practice, because we were so poor, I don't want to get into the story, and I'm not justifying it, but I would go to the big store. It wasn't called Walmart back then. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a big store. And I used to fill my duffel bag with food and everything my family needed. And then I used to tell my mother, okay, that I only need a little bit of money. This guy just steals all the stuff we want. And it was me. And then I finally got caught. And guess what? So I got on probation. And I would never, ever, ever take it back. I had relatives who didn't like me. They scorned me. They didn't think they could trust me in their own home. Here I am, a young kid. And the reality is this: I will never take it back, because guess what? That's what you do. And when people get put into a survival mode instead of a thriver mode, this is what happens. And when we're talking about Jim Gale's vision, we're talking about creating thrivers. They'll never have to be survivors, so they won't have to steal, wheel, and deal, okay? So understand that, everybody. You get that in your head, and then don't people will call me up and go, Dr. Wolfe, I need you to actually do an intervention consultation on my son and daughter. And I will. And then I'll do one with the parents. And then I'll go, well, you sent them to a government school. And actually, the way I see it, the problem's actually coming from you two. And they still have a spirit left. And we can't go in there and beat them up. We got to have you change so they change. Thank you very much. Jim?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, so I want to give everybody an example here to show you. So this is not a hypothetical solution to prison reform. It's been proven the recidivism rate will fall more than 60, 70%, even in some cases more than 90%, right? So this is a proven way to reform our prisons in which everybody wins. The same with the schools. This has been done in multiple schools, and the children are happier and healthier and more connected when they live outside with nature. So here's a little example. So this area in front of me, we put these trees in the ground about a year and a half ago, right? That area right over there that looks very thick and dense, we put that in the ground about 2.5 years ago. This week, we started moving mulch for this area. This area is ugly, but guess what? Within 6 months, that'll be mostly green. Within 2 years, that will look like that. And here's the best part. I'm not a farmer. I don't ever want to be a farmer in the current sense because it's a lot of work and they deal with a lot of poisons. We have no poisons here. And this is less maintenance than a lawn. A lawn would be 10 times the maintenance of this food forest. And yet this is turning into a jungle, a habitat that provides way more than enough food for multiple families.
Jim, people are asking, again, because they might have just came on, where do we get the book? How much does it cost? Thank you, Cory.
Yeah, this is what it looks like, everybody out there. If you want the in-person copy, right? We made this very simple so that way every audience can view it. And we lay out that problem, the solution, and the strategy, right? We don't want to focus on the problems all day. Most people know the problems with the world. We detailed it before. But notice here in this talk, we're talking mostly about what we can do and what it looks like. Because we have to envision that future, not just put it into action, right? We have to truly embody it. And so this book helps serve as that inspiration. You can even see the back here is like a lot of world symbols you might know about, some of you guys out there. There's a lot of symbols in this image here to inspire people like this is our natural intelligence. This is art that humans came up with, right? Before this idea of artificial intelligence came into view, and many people look at AI as the future, as the solution to all of our problems. But meanwhile, here we are talking about this solution that has always existed since ancient times that we simply have not integrated within our lives. And the question is, how come? Why? Right? And we talked about the governments and perhaps their schooling system. We know it's based on the Prussian model of schooling. Well, what does that do? It teaches obedience, not necessarily virtue and intelligence, and encouraging somebody to become their own doctor, encouraging them to become their own governor over themselves. So it's all about self-empowerment. And I noticed this is super important, including for mental health, right? Seeing your own values, seeing your own purpose. And it certainly was for me and many others in my generation who struggles from a lot of those issues. So this can help people on more than one level, right? Just simply by saying, hey, you have the power invested within you and also within your environment to make a big difference. If you start growing food around your property, your neighbors, your friends, your communities are going to start looking at that and saying, what is he doing? What are they doing? And that's what's happening. Jim Gale and I, we went to different neighbors in both of our neighborhoods, and we gave out sweet potatoes. I was even on the train. I handed out sweet potato vines on the train when I was going to Galt's Landing and came back to my area around Tampa, Florida. And, and the director is like, what is he doing? He's handing out sweet potato vines. And everybody in the train was like, whoa, this is super cool. Because I'm like, hey, this is something you can grow. You just put in the ground, it works. Like there's not really any maintenance involved for that plant, right? And there's certain plants like that everywhere, certain perennials that just are super easy to grow. And then you can stack layers and you're going to want to do more. You're going to want to add different things to your garden, to your food forest, right? To
Cory,
your
Cory, think about the programming, Cory.
Yes.
That when you show them a sweet potato vine that they can actually root in and they go, whoa, that's amazing. Think about everybody. Please try to close your eyes and think about how well they've programmed us, okay? You know, it's like we just handed somebody a magic wand.
Yeah, it's amazing once you see it, right? That's why we have 100% inspiration rate. Even the government officials, and I just got a call this morning thanks to a connection that Chris made from the guy who's running for mayor of our county. They asked me to run for mayor, and then I ran for 48 hours. This is a while back, a year ago or so. And then the lawyers got a hold of me and said, you can't run because you've never voted and you've never even registered to vote, because I don't believe in that system. So I was disqualified. But we're starting to integrate the government. And here's a message to all the brave hearts out there. So we have built 10 homes here, including, and by the way, we've got Airbnbs. If you want to come and hang out here with us, we're on a private 400-acre lake. We've got the only dock on the lake. It's a sunset view. It's amazing. And
what about the fishing? Jim, don't forget the lake, the fishing.
Oh, it's incredible. And so I declared, my hat says free man. And I made a declaration about 2 years ago, very publicly, that we would not support or obey the slave master any longer. And that means that we would not pay property tax or income tax, and we'd not ask for permission to do what's right. Right? Yeah, Cory's book, The End of Slavery. That's an amazing book. Slavery gone for good. So here's what happened. A government official came here and he was asking for building permits for my house right there. And I walked up to him, and this is a very strategic way of doing it, my friends. I am not advocating for you to go running and screaming that you're not going to comply with government. I am not advocating for that at all. Unless you have a strategy and unless you have the inner constitution to do it. And here's my strategy. I've been working on the inner constitution for years, and here's the strategy. I walked the government official into the food forest. And by the way, this is all on video. I introduced myself. I asked him how he got permission to come on my land. And he, instead of replying as an authority saying, I have the right to be here, he said, I'm sorry, the gate was open. So I just came in. I will leave if you want me to. Well, when he said that, my heart opened up. And I said, well, before you leave, please come in and see what we're doing, because we cannot obey you. You're failing. You will allow us to cut and kill everything. You'll even subsidize the use of poisons that kill everything they touch. So what we're doing is we're the stewards of the land. We're here to demonstrate God's design, nature, beauty, and abundance. And we're here to voluntarily share our abundance, our surplus, with our community, because it's the most logical thing we could ever do. Food security is not just when you have enough food. Food security is when your neighbors also have enough food, right? So within about 15 minutes, this fella, his name is Alexi, and I consider him a friend now. He had a tear in his eye. He said, you're right. I will never bother you again.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And you know what? If you don't have courage and you're full of fear, then you're not going to be able to take this pathway until you practice faith and courage. Understand something. When I come online the same as Jim, we're not coming against the government. We're having an understanding that this is our God-given right. It's our God-given right. Nobody's allowed to tell you how to live if you do no harm to yourself or anyone else. That's the only rule you need to know. You know, when I was living in, whether it be United States or Canada, I'd always have officials coming to my place, because it's not, you know, the bigger the city, the more organized they are, the more rules you have, okay? All right, a friend of mine just bought a place, and it cost him almost $2 million. And he lives in a community, and you know what? He can't even park on the street in front of his house, but two people who visit can. No, you know, I'm serious, okay? So you don't see it encroaching. It's not encroaching on just your movement here, but it's encroaching on your heart in here. Cory?
Yeah. It is. And, this is not the first time in history where we see that, right? We see it throughout a lot of our history, and we can shift that. We can shift it dramatically. And that's why I wrote my book on Slavery Gone for Good, on the abolitionist history, because really we're paralleling their work. It was very brave for some individuals to say after thousands of years that slavery, chattel slavery in particular, is wrong and that we should do away with it, entirely. And that, who will pick the cotton? Who will build the roads? Who will provide us with all this stuff? We need to have some lower class that is oppressed in order for the higher civilized man. I mean, these were the arguments that the pro-slavery owners made at the time, and I show that through this text, many historical examples, many philosophers. But you know what the abolitionists did? They said, you're trying to disempower people. You're not trying to educate them, bring them to a higher level, to a higher frequency or vibration. You're not approaching with love or moral suasion, they called it. And so they showed by example, they created the Underground Railroad. And what was that? A bunch of towns that were basically outside of the government, where they said, we're not going to comply. And they willfully not paid taxes, and they grew food, and they did a lot of amazing, courageous steps that, perhaps we might need nowadays, and it's simply acting on conscience, simply saying, hey, I know what's wrong, so I'm not going to partake in wrong. And this is very inspirational work because of that. So I felt compelled to write it. Of course, it's like, why would I talk about slavery? But it's because they were demonstrating solutions to historic problems. And we are doing the same thing here after thousands of years of partaking in certain problems. But it doesn't mean we can't shift it, because they're evidence that we can.
Yeah, slavery is just slicker now. That's all. Slavery is just slicker. And people don't even recognize it because the majority of the population are slaves. I made this thing to myself a few years ago that I until I see different, I will never follow the majority with anything. I will never do anything, eat anything, drink anything, make a decision, anything that the majority does. I just want to thank the majority for helping to guide me in the right direction. Jim?
I love that. And Goethe said, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. And when I first heard somebody said, you're a slave, I got mad. I got angry. My ego jumped out and I said, no, I'm not. I can do anything I want. Oh, really? Can you steward your land without paying the government by the threat of force and violence? No. Can you earn income without paying a significant percentage of that by threat of force and violence? Anytime force and violence enters the picture, there's slavery. Now, a lot of people said, well, we need taxation for all these things. That is a program that is absolutely proven historically not true. In fact, when we organize effectively, right? Like Martin Luther King, those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. If we organize 3% as effectively as the warmongers, we win. Why? Because we literally have the power of God/nature on our side.
Absolutely. Jim, I got a question for you, though. So if I lived in St. Cloud and I wanted to send my child to your school, how would I do it, and who's coming?
Yes. So we've got 4 kids enrolled already. We haven't even started registration. We've just put the team together. So basically, get a hold of me. My email is jim@foodforestabundance.com. And it will be a school that will become a model in every conceivable way. It will be like a seed of abundance that we plant it and we nourish it. And the kids will show us how to do things that we haven't even thought of yet because they're geniuses. And that's the approach we're taking to this school.
And what if I wanted to come and bring my lovely family, and I wanted to come and stay in one of your beautiful Airbnbs? And they really are beautiful, everybody. What if I wanted to come and stay there and bring my children for, let's say, a week? How do I do that?
I love it. And everybody, please check out the reviews. We have had over 100 reviews now, and it's galtzlanding.farm. So that's GALTS landing.farm. And that's where you can book through Airbnb, and you can do events here. We're going to have weddings here. The thing that I'm most excited about is having Doc of Detox and having this collaboration, because we are going to help a lot of people heal. I've personally been healed by Dr. Wolfe and his methods. Christopher, who's here now, he's a military fella, 20 years of service. His knee has issues, and he's walking better today than he was 2 days ago, thanks to some of the practices. So it's absolutely awesome.
Beautiful.
All right, so we have more people that must have come on. I don't mean to do this to you guys, but they want to know where to get the natural intelligence, the technology of peace, the book.
I'll bring it out again. I'm proud to bring it out. Here you go.
And they also want to know, is it downloadable? And
yes.
Okay, and you also have it in an audio form?
Yeah, so every format, audio, Kindle, right, which is like ebook format, and then we have paperback and hardcover, right? So all this is provided here on Amazon, and like I said, you can also go through your local bookstore and you can have them order it, have them look it up. Natural Intelligence, the Technology of Peace, and like I said, we lay it out. Step one, like literally from the grassroots, like what is an idea whose time has come? Stronger than all the armies of the world. This is a common quote by Bill Mollison, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jim.
Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo. Yeah, I knew I was wrong. I was like, that's not the right person. We have a lot of great quotes in this book, and they just drive the way because they bring you step by step. And Jim, he shares this message often on his videos. He's very inspiring. When I first came across him, he's doing all these interviews, and I brought together a lot of like what he was sharing, and it's like turned into an amazing work where it's compiled, right? So it's like you don't have to watch another interview from Jim Gale or myself. It's in the book if you want to, right? You want the whole thing laid out. And like I said, we give you specific strategies depending on who you are and the audience. And then you can help us, share your strategies, and also share this with the influencers, because the influencers play a key role, part of the strategy to bringing this message to the mass public. So we need your help with sharing this message. We created documents that we have on NITA.one, NITA.one. So if you go to NITA.one, it stands for Nature is the Answer, NITA.one, you'll see there's documents for different audiences. And so we made those as a summary of the book that you can also share. And it leads people to the book as well if they want more information. But there you have it laid out, the solution, the strategy, and the different things that it can do as a result. So there you go. Several formats for people.
All right.
Even document.
So let's say I had a group, an association. Who would I get in touch with if I wanted Jim and Cory to come on a Zoom or to do a lecture live to my association, my organization?
Yes, I love it. Reach out to us. Anita.one is the best first step, I believe. What do you think, Cory? That sound good?
Yeah. We have a Telegram chat connected to that as well, where you can reach out to us and ask us any question related to permaculture, or if you want to reach out to us as well and get us on your show or talk more about this and dive a little bit deeper if you have any particular questions. Jim also mentioned his email address before. You're welcome to contact us any which means.
What's his email? Can you give his email address? And also, when you mention something, tell what's the Telegram channel? What is it?
Food Forest Abundance.
Food Forest Abundance. Sorry,
okay.
Food Forest Abundance. And my email is jim@foodforestabundance.com. And I just am compelled to share that I met with Bobby Kennedy on this, laid out the strategy. He absolutely loved it, and their team wants to work with us. We are partnered with the largest university in the world called Second Chance University, 650,000 inmates. We are building the school here now. So all of these pieces, bringing in the schools, the prisons, and the churches, this is how we do it. When those entities collaborate and bring these solutions to the public, we already have the resources. We already have all of the energy. We already have all of the pieces. We just need to organize them in a way that brings life to our world instead of death.
All right, so there it is. Just as Jim, Cory have used their imagination, you use your imagination on what you would like to have from them to fulfill maybe a dream that you've always wanted to do. That's how it works. I mean, Jim and I got together probably, I don't know how long ago, a year and a half, maybe, Jim? I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever.
maybe 2.
And you know what? We planted a seed, and here we are. And we're ready. We're ready, and we know that we can endure any storm because storms don't last forever. Okay, and we need the rain. That's what they say.
Yep, we sure do. Well, thank you, Dr. Wolfe. Thank you, Bravehearts. I just love you. I love this organization, everything you stand for. And it's us. We are the influencers. We are the change. If you think somebody else is going to help your life or save you, that's the most disempowering BS you have ever heard. We are the change. And so thank you.
No, I want to thank you. This has been really informative. And just by the comments I'm seeing, people love this, guys. We're going to have you back on again. And
awesome.
Thanks for joining me, Cory. Jim,
Thank
thanks
you.
for joining me. Like usual, we are blessed. Thank you.
Very appreciative.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
All right, so there you have it, everyone. And understand something. The seed's planted, and from here, we're just going to grow and grow a larger and larger community. You know, we're going to go deep, and we're going to go strong, and understand something. We're here to support you. Okay. You know, Jim and I came together because I'm kind of one side of the coin. He's the other side of the coin. Okay. And that's how it has to be. I can't do it all. And if I did try to do it, I'd just mess it up. That's why I need Jim. Okay. So we need each other. Don't forget that. We do need each other. We are sisters and brothers. Okay. So I'm going to be talking to Jim after I finish here, and then I'm going to ask Jim if he would do a live show with me once a week, like we just did, because I think that it really brings the thunder around. But you'll still get Jim's one a day, and then what I'd like to do is have Jim do a one a day that we will put up every day at the same time, and he'll have his one a day. But I'd like to have him on a show, or where he would actually bring somebody on a show, and they do a full-blown interview to show you the depth of what they're working. See, it's just so much more. It's permaculture, it's electroculture, it's coming off the grid. It's like using your own waste when you go to the bathroom to actually create the gas that actually runs the stove. I mean, there's so much. It's just mind-blowing. And guess what? There's the scoop on poop. Okay. All right. So, you know, instead of having gas, we could create gas. Okay. All right. I want to thank everybody and for joining us. And like I said, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. God bless. And remember this, 3, 2, 1, we rise together.